His Holiness to bestow the precious Dhamma teachings. Let's pay homage to the lineage gurus, homage to the Venerable Monk Liao Ming, homage to Master Sakya Zengkong, homage to His Holiness the 16th Karmapa, and homage to Master Thubten Dorji. Homage to the three jewels of the altar. Homage to the main deity of Homa today, Amogapasa Avalokiteswara, the Vajra of equal deliverance. Sumo Tansen Katso Tutan City, all Dharma masters, Dharma educators, Dharma teachers, Dharma lecturers, Dharma assistants, directors of temples and chapters, and all disciples present here and over the internet. How do you do?
Hola amigo, que quiero mucho. Sugoin, Ichiba, Kimoji, Jumi, Yapi, Bring, Konnichiwa. Now
I would like to announce for next Sunday, March 20th at 3 p.m. there will be Amitabha Buddha Homa fire offering ceremony. And his mudra is the Amitabha meditation mudra, his mantra.
Amitabha Om Amitabha Om Amitabha 它跟佛一样，有32相。
He's like a Buddha endowed with 32 marks of perfections, and he appears as red from the chief of Sukawati, the western realm of utmost bliss. Generally speaking, every Buddhist greeting each other with palms joined and saying Amitabha. Most of them would say Amitabha. Why would they say Amitabha? Because he has the closest and deepest affinity with sentient beings. And his Buddha land is also the most supreme. And he delivers the most sentient beings too. For this past 2 years, every night, Grandmaster performs the Bardo deliverance of the 1,000 Dharma vessels every single night, never skipping a night. And the main deities for the Bardo deliverance is Golden Mother and Amitabha Buddha.
所接引的这个幽冥众，到阿弥陀佛净土。
And the Bardu spirits that were delivered were delivered to Amitabha's Pure Land, Sukhavati. So we can say Amitabha Buddha has the closest affinity with sentient beings. And Grandmaster Slu's origin, or original ground, is also Amitabha Buddha. So today we practice Amugapasa Avalokitesvara. And this Avalokitesvara, or Guan Yin, it's one of the 7 Avalokitesvaras at the Guan Yin court. And she has a truly great power. Her Dharma power is similar to Mahajundi's Buddha Mother's Dharma power. And her this is extraordinary because of the equal deliverance. And her epithet is the Vajra of equal deliverance, to symbolize the wisdom of equality or equal nature. And she has 4 hands, 4 arms. One is holding a mala, chanting beads. And by chanting her name, you would be Bardu delivered. The other hand is holding a lotus blossom, primarily for purification and eradication of calamities. And the other hand is holding a purification base, and for those with karma, to be cleansed. And one hand is holding a lasso to bind all of the wishes so that they can be fulfilled. So for this deity is the most popular and has the most primary supplicants in Buddha's school. Primarily is because it's non-empty, returning non-empty, and the equal deliverance. It's the most compassionate Avalokitesvara. So equal deliverance has the wisdom of equal nature. So whether you're a good person or bad person, you will be delivered all the same. And the meaning of amuga, or non-empty, as written here, whether it's purifications, enrichments, magnetization, or subjugation, they all can be accomplished. First year of elementary school was asked to write the things that one to be grateful for Thanksgiving. And Xiaoming wrote, I'm so lucky that I'm not a turkey. It seems like we've told this joke before. a friend is inviting for dinner and bought a paper bills counter, and he looked so slow when it's time to pay the bills. So I told him, well, let me pay then. And he's like, oh, that would be so embarrassing. So I stick my hand into his pocket. The shopkeeper told the customer, today it costs $350. And the customer said, sure, let's divide it into two. And the shopkeeper asked, or actually the waiter, so was there someone eating together with you? No. Then why do you want to split it? And the customer said, this way, I will not feel so lonely. So the waiter said, okay, then I'll count you as two people. And thank you. And then the waiter said, $700 then, because we count a person. So the price is for one person. Now we'll do the question and answer from Brunei. Henhua Han Hong. Amitabha, beloved Grandmaster, first, in Grandmaster's answer to the question, how to ensure that the protectors are always there, Grandmaster, you mentioned that every day we need to offer to them, especially on their birthdays. Mariji and Mahabala are two great protectors who are under contract with Buddha School. Could you please tell us when Mahabala's birthday is, so that we can also make offering to Mahabala on his birthday? This is such a detailed question. Mahabala is rare in other schools, but in Tibet there are also people who propagate Mahabala, but they never talk about his birthday. Nobody ever said when his birthday is. And the second question, if we don't know the birth date of our root protector, or can we celebrate it on the birthday of his origin? So the origin, like for example Mahabala's origins are several. Mahabala is holding a divine duster, that's Golden Mother, and he forms the wrathful mudra and that to symbolize that he is Mahabala. And originally, he was the envoy or attendant with great power to Siddhigarbha Bodhisattva. So, his origin was Siddhigarbha Bodhisattva and also Golden Mother, and he's holding a pole, and that belongs to Padma Kumara. That pole symbolizes Padma Kumara, and the origin of Padma Kumara is Amitabha Buddha. So Mahabala has many origins: Golden Mother, the great power messenger, Siddhigarbha, Padma Kumara, Amitabha. All of them are related. So, which date or day can we make offering to Mahabala? On what days? On Golden Mother's birthday would be the best day for it. On Golden Mother's birthday, because Mahabala is the union of many Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Mahabala. Who came here? I think it was His Holiness Karmapa said that he practiced Tara in the daytime and protector at night. And he practiced Tara in the daytime and protector at night. That's what Karmapa told me. And Kandan Tripa, when he came here, he said that night happened to be the birthday of his protector. So he asked us to take him to buy meat and alcohol because he was planning to practice his protector that night. So if you want to make offering or to practice protector, that it's best to do it at night. It's better to practice the protector at night. And Kantan Tripa from the Gelugpa. Most people have Yamantaka as their protectors in Gelugpa. And in Sakyapa, the primary protector is Hevajra. And for Kagyupa or Karmapa, the primary protector is Chakrasamvara. For the Kagyupa, Chakrasamvara. And for Nyingmapa, primarily it's Mahotara Heruka. And True Buddha School holds lineages from the 4 schools, for all 4 schools. So whichever protector you practice. And on top of them, there are 2 special to True Buddha School, who are Marici and Mahabala. They are under special contract to support True Buddha School disciples. Because Mahabala is the union of many yidams or many deities. So we use the birthday of the yidam to worship or to pay homage to him. About a reunion or school reunion, a group that graduated from Tainan Yizhong, the first high school, that from their 40 years old, they decided to have a reunion every 10 years. That's not easy. Once every 10 years. We still have the school alumni club from my college, university. And we don't wait for 10 years. We often have gatherings. 10 years is a long time. At 40s, the first time they gather, and they choose the Asia restaurant. And because the service and the waitresses are really nice, and they wear very little. And then 10 years later, at 50s, we still choose the same restaurant because the reason the writings on the menus are bigger. And another 10 years, at 60s, they still choose the same restaurant because they have healthy menu. And then another 10 years, at 70s, they continue to choose this restaurant. But the reason is because they have wheelchair access. And another 10 years, at 80s, they all unanimously agreed to go to the same restaurant again. And the reason is because we've never been there before. So, memory loss for the elderly is very scary. And what's interesting is the students only fill 3 tables, but we pay for 6 tables because the other 3 are for their caretakers. This is funny. Costume party. A friend's son is the only boy in the kindergarten. And he got home and said, "We have costume party next week." And the teacher asked me to become a prince. Well, of course, you're the only boy, so you should be the prince, but who's the princess? And the son said, everyone wants to be a princess, and they all fought with each other, so the teacher hasn't decided. And the dad said, in order for all the girls to become the princess, you don't want to be a prince, but you want to be a king. Because a prince only has one princess, but a king would have a group of concubines. Talking about kindergarten, now made me remember my girlfriend in kindergarten. And her name is Lin Yan Yu. The family name is Lin, like forest, and then swallow, jade swallow. Swallow. I only remember the one from kindergarten, but I don't remember the one from now. That's how memory losses. For the elderly, they don't remember what happened recently, but they would remember the things that happened when they were little. There's a huge massage parlor, and there's a big writing that said 2 kinds of massage. Healthy massage, the person, and then they use their strength. So that's $300. And Taiwan dollar, that's very cheap. In America, at least $100 US.
健康按摩是每小时300块，你出人，他出力。快乐按摩是他出人，你出力。
And the happy massage is that we provide the person and you use your strength, and that's $3,000. It's not so funny, huh? This is a rather unclean joke. I accompanied a dad strolling, passing by the red district, and there were several women there, and said, "Hi, handsome. It's been so long." Who knows that the woman has such good memory and remember even when I just did it once. And then the dad said, "Let's not come here in the future." And the dad gave $2,000 to Ming and told him, "Son, never ever tell mom what happened just now, okay?" I remember a joke like this. at the prostitution parlor that went bankrupt and had like estate sale, like a bankruptcy sale. And Ming bought the parrot home and hang it at his house, and the dead came out, and the parrot said, the customer is the same. I forgot how did it go?
Oh,
it's the other way around. When Ming brought the parrot home, Mom got out, and the parrot said, like the mama son has changed. And then Ming's sister came out, and the parrot said, oh, and the lady has changed too. And finally Dad comes out, and then the parrot said, but the clients is the same. It's a related joke. Okay, now we'll talk about chapter 20. It's very short. Abandoning all forms and phenomena. Subhuti, what do you think? Can the Buddha be perceived through his physical appearances? Subhuti replied, no, World Honored One. The Tathagata should not be perceived through his physical appearances. Why? The Tathagata says, being endowed with physical appearances is not exactly so. It is merely called being endowed with physical appearance. Subhuti, what do you think? Can the Tathagata be perceived through all kinds of phenomena? No, World Honored One. The Tathagata should not be perceived through all kinds of phenomena. Why? The Tathagata says, being endowed with all kinds of phenomena is identical to not being endowed. It is merely called being endowed with all kinds of phenomena. So, chapter 20, abandoning all forms and phenomena. So, in discussing the Buddha, you cannot talk about his forms or appearance or phenomena. You want to see a Tathagata is not to see the forms or the appearance. So the forms here refer to the changes, and the phenomena is like the 32 physical characteristics of phenomena, the 32 major marks or the 80 minor marks. So although the Tathagata is endowed with all sorts of appearances of phenomena, you cannot perceive them through this phenomena or appearances. In this case, the appearance of form refers to the changes of the Tathagata. Like the Monkey King has the 72 changes, transformations. This is an example. The Erlang Sen, the second god, is that in Chengdu, Sichuan. Is also referred as Yang Jian. He has 73 transformations, but the Monkey King has the 72 transformation. I saw, as I remember, when the Erlang god ran after the Monkey King, he would transform into a temple. But next to it, there's a pole because he could not transform his tail. And when the gods saw that, where is the Monkey King? But then he saw the pole. Then he knew that that must be his tail. So it doesn't matter how the Monkey King is transforming, his tail had to show, so the god could recognize. So, because the Monkey King has only 72 transformations, but the Erlang god has 73. So that's why the monkey god always lost. So this is talking about changes or transformations. So if you see something's flying, or someone's flying, and then you regard him as a Buddha, you cannot. Because birds also fly. So are the birds Buddhas? So that's talking about appearances. So are the planes Buddhas? 关掉了。So a few days ago, I was flying in the sky, rotating. I can fly, so I can go wherever I want. So just because you can fly in the air, you think that you're Buddha. That's not the case. Like the Monkey King, you can transform into a temple with a pole, and you think, oh, the Monkey King is incredible. He must be a Buddha. So that's the appearances that we are talking about here. But it talks about the changes. And talking about physical appearances, of course, the Buddha has many of them. Like the ears touching the shoulders. And the eyes are always very, very tiny. You know, you have like squinting your eyes. But the Vajra protectors have huge eyes, so you cannot say that anyone with huge eyes are Vajra protectors. And the eyes of the Buddhas are very compassionate eyebrows and very kind eyes. And the Buddha looks very perfect, very magnificent. And with the unisha or the head bump, the protuberance, and his physical appearance is very perfect. And the length of his arms when standing upright can touch the knees or even lower than the knees. Anyone can do that? If you're sitting, of course, but standing upright, anyone? What, Dexter? So the 32 marks of perfection of the Buddha is incredible. Like when he sticks his tongue, it can cover the whole face. So in the Amitabha Sutra, it's written that the Buddha has a very long and broad tongue that can cover the whole face. So that it talks about talking truthfully, that the Buddha shows a very long and broad tongue that can cover his own face. It's one of the 32 marks of perfection. So don't think that by seeing someone with the 32 marks of perfections, you regard him to be a Buddha. No, because Zhuanren Sengwang, the king of turning the wheel, also endowed with 32 marks of perfections. It would be talked about later in the sutra. So abandoning all forms and phenomena, so all kinds of transformations, so all kinds of appearances or phenomena are also should be abandoned. Do you know Devadatta? Devadatta has a very similar physical appearances with the Buddha. So the Buddha was endowed with 32 marks of perfection and Devadatta with 30 marks of perfection. Very close. So therefore Devadatta looked very magnificent and dignified. However, he told the Sangha that Sakyamuni Buddha is old already. He should be the leader of the Sangha now. So, in today's word, we say that he did a coup d'etat, a coup, and to ask the Buddha to retire and to let himself to become the leader. It's a huge Sangha. and the Buddha is old and still stick around, and he's unhealthy and at a very old age, and he did not leave, and he's still at the position. So Devadatta could not stand it anymore. So finally pushed him aside, and he wanted to become the leader. So, and yet Devadatta was endowed with 32 marks of perfection. So that's why you cannot use physical appearances to determine that he's a Buddha. You cannot also use any transformations. Like Pindolu has a remarkable ability to transform. So all the arhats have supernatural power. And there's people that thought the disciples of the Buddha, the arhats, have great supernatural power. So they hang a bag on a very tall tree and then ask who can get that back down. So Pindolu just showed his supernatural power. Just very easily jump up and then pick up the bag down. And because Pindolu showed off his supernatural power, so Sakyamuni Buddha chided him. And punish him to stay in the samsara as the arhat in samsara. So many Buddhas and Bodhisattvas have transcendent power. Like the Vajra bell, it's very easy to pick up like this. But when I press on it and add some power to it, now it's going to be different. See, it's a stick to the table. It can be moved sideways, but it's kind of stick to the table. Quite tightly. Of course, if you exert some strength, then you can pick it up, but just naturally and lightly, you cannot. This is magic. So I just use a very light power, and it's already kind of glued. I have showed this at the Qiaoyuan restaurant in Taichung when everybody was dining. Before the dishes were served, I took a bowl and I pressed on it, and I asked them to pick it up, but they said it seems to be sticking to the table. But normally you can just pick it up very easily. But but yeah, it seems to stick.
所以你随便拿一个碟子给我，我只要把这个碟子加持过。
So if you give any plate, and then I would give a blessing to it, then you can use it as like an Uja board.
就变成碟仙。所以这不是魔术，这本来就是灵，本来就是气。
Like a kind of divination, you know.
所以你不要因为
So that's a spiritual power. Don't think because I can do this that you think I'm a Buddha. So that's a transformation. So we have to abandon that transformations or abandon their physical appearances. Someone looks very dignified, that looks like a Buddha, and you think he's a Buddha. No, you cannot think that way. So the meaning of the sutra, chapter 20, abandoning all transformations and appearances. Subhuti, what do you think? Can the Buddha be perceived through his transformation, his power of transformations? Noble honored one, the Tathagata should not be perceived through his power of transformations. Why? The Tathagata says, being endowed with the power of transformations is not exactly so. It is merely being called that. So, of course, the Buddhas have supernatural power, but those with supernatural power are not necessarily Buddhas. So, being endowed with the power of transformation is not exactly so. It is merely called so. So, Tathagata is not determined by their power of transformations. So Tathagata does have power of transformations, but those who have power of transformations are not necessarily Buddhas. So that's my explanation, perhaps different from other people's explanation. A Buddha has transcendent power, but those with transcendent power may not be necessarily Buddha. So the ghosts also have power, but small, and gods have bigger power. So those spirits with bigger powers are called gods. So, but ghosts also have power. I've seen a lot of ghosts, and Simu also saw ghosts, and they all can transform. They can show the most beautiful to you, or to show something the worst, like with the blood running through everywhere, and with hair standing up to shock you. And then you were so shocked and ran away. But when you turn around, it became a beautiful lady. So they can transform, they can change anytime. They can show either the most horrible look or the beautiful look. So don't think because he can or she can transform that they are a Buddha. Don't think that someone's with the remarkable physical appearance that they are Buddha. Because Mara or demon can also show very remarkable, dignified look, like Devadatta is endowed with 30 marks. So, Subhuti, what do you think? Can the Tathagata be perceived through all kinds of phenomena? Noble honored one, the Tathagata should not be perceived through all kinds of phenomena. Why? The Tathagata says, being endowed with all kinds of phenomena. is identical to not being endowed. It is merely being called so. So the Tathagata is endowed with 32 marks of perfections as their physical appearances, but one with those 32 physical appearances are not necessarily Tathagata. So that's my explanation to this chapter 20. Then how would you see a Tathagata? How can you perceive a Tathagata? Even one that can transform, you do not necessarily trust him, and you cannot judge by the 32 marks of perfection. So how should you determine? Oh, how should you perceive? In Tantric Buddhism, we say, if you emit your own Buddha nature, once you emit your own Buddha nature, then what you see would be a Buddha. So we say the true understanding of the mind and seeing the Buddha nature. If you have seen the true Buddha nature, then that would be the real seeing. If you cannot see your real Buddha nature, then all appearances or transformations are not it. So the seeing is only when you see your own Buddha nature. In order to see your Buddha nature, you have to eradicate your karma, to eliminate the karma of your body, speech, and mind. So in our Dhamma practice in Tantrayana, we purify our body, speech, and mind. So we have pure body, speech, and mind. Until they are completely purified, then you recognize the empty nature and you merge or enter the empty nature. Only at this time it can be called seeing the Buddha nature. That's all for today. Om Mani Padme Hum.